Hello, my name is Jim Twelves, and I'm talking to you today about EDU541, differentiated curriculum, and classroom management. No, learning management. And this is my first Zoom session which I'm talking to myself. Well, there's always a first. So I'm actually going to, and today's date is the 9th of April, 2018. And I'm going to try and share a screen so that you can see what is going on. So allow me to try and do that. So here goes, share screen. And this is the screen I want to share. Okay, now you should be able to see the Google page. And the first assignment, which is down, it's not very long away. So let's have a chat about the first assignment and see how we go. Identifying and catering for the needs of a student with a specific intellectual disability. Mary. Hello, Mary. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Jim.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Not bad, thank you.
Good. Sorry that I'm late. I went as fast as I could to get my kids in bed.
Oh, thank you for your patience.
Sorry. And I got the times all wrong. So we've always normally been an hour in Brisbane behind you. So I sat on at 6 o'clock my time for ages, waiting and waiting and waiting. And I thought, no, there must be something wrong eventually. And then I looked online, and obviously your time has changed. So I shan't get that wrong again.
That's all right. These things happen. I'm actually recording already.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm struggling with. Oh yes, I'm sharing the screen. And of all the group, you're the only one who's turned up. Never mind. So let's have a good chat about EDU541, differentiated curriculum and learning management. So let me give you a little speech about the first assignment, and then you come back at me with loads of questions.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan?
Perfect.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was just about to go through the question. A 15-minute oral multimedia presentation to address the accommodation and educational needs of a student with a specific intellectual disability who is placed in your classroom. Now, this assessment must incorporate universal design for learning, using the evidence-based model in determining the learning and teaching and classroom management strategies needed for special needs. Now, I thought I had done some notes on this particular assignment, but perhaps I didn't. So my understanding is that if you've got a little 15-minute, 20-minute oral presentation to make, that's probably going to be what you would do for a parent-teacher information night. Is that how you took it, Mary?
Yes. So I took it as either we would need to record ourselves in doing a presentation, or we could use some form of multimedia and do it online with our voice recording in the background.
Yeah. Or multimedia, it doesn't say how many media.
No.
It just says multi. So I would I think the emphasis is on your ability to communicate to an audience that you define, so that you're explaining your rationale. And it's a lot easier if you think in terms of an information night, that you might have a select small group of parents who've come in, and you're explaining your whole rationale for why you do the stuff you do in the way you do. I think it's a very exciting assignment. The crucial thing for me so far would be getting my head around universal design for learning, which I think is a great tool for reflecting upon. And I've written down some notes here from the University of New South Wales link. So what I've written down from that is that you are absolutely, totally aware of the different learning styles that children have, and you don't just assume everybody can accommodate a narrow range. So you intentionally are at pains to accommodate their learning styles and not to impose your natural teaching style. I love the idea of giving the students a variety of expression so that you don't insist they all have to do an essay, which is going to disenfranchise some straight away, or all do a creative piece, which is going to disenfranchise some straight away.
Yeah.
The whole beauty of having a vast array of possible expressions is that you're not individualizing, you're not drawing attention to an individual. You're giving respect for everybody. And it's actually very exciting to have a different array of expressions to show how they've understood the work. And the third aspect of UDL is engagement, that you are intentionally designing something with engagement in mind rather than the content in mind, and how to meet the needs of a specific individual student that's been placed in your class. Now, when it comes to those dot points, brief characteristics of disability and so on, I don't think they are descriptive and you're going to have to write 5 marks for this and 2 marks for that and blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to treat it like that. Treat those dot points as springboards for you to include, but you're not going to get penalized if you've missed that. But I will say the third to the end, involvement of parents is a crucial issue, especially because you're giving this oral presentation.
Yeah.
So I've nearly done my little speech. If you then go to the assessment rubric and have a look at the thing over there, what I do with this document, I look down the left-hand column there, the criteria. Those words are so cumbersome. They're terrible English. So what I try to do is, what do they actually say? I don't really pay too much attention to the body of these, because I think that's somebody with verbal diarrhea. But I do pay attention to the right-hand column for the APSDs. They're pretty crucial. You know, if you really want to know what criteria 2 is all about, it's 1.6.1. Criteria 3, what's that about? It's about 1.2.1 and 7.4.1. So I think that's a nice little exercise to do. If you're worried that you're going to miss some stuff, they're the things to go for to ensure you've hit the APSDs. And then I just look at the content. What does it actually say? Produce creative, well-structured, logical, coherent. So that's the design of your multimedia thing. You know, does it make sense? Can you imagine the audience that you've defined as it's going to make sense of it. Demonstrate your knowledge of the understanding of the legislative requirements. Now, that needs a bit of digging and research into learning disabilities and what is actually required of you as a teacher, which I think is a pretty good exercise for you to do. And especially if you're in different states, you might want to ensure that you're hitting the Queensland, in your case, Mary, relevant legislation. I mean, the most important thing is you mustn't discriminate. If you can avoid discriminating, that's the key. Because as soon as you get any sense of discrimination, you've fallen foul of the legislative requirements. Demonstrate your capacity to identify research methods into how students learn. Now, 7 points, and explore the contribution of professionals from a broader perspective. Now, 7.4, that's parents and externals and professionals, I believe, from memory. So this is, you know, in a school, you're going to get learning support teachers, you're going to get special needs experts, and you really need to lean on them and don't feel that you have to be the expert yourself. So I'm expecting you to acknowledge the input of other experts, which will be in the school, and you don't have to fret about it. They'll be there, and you give them due credit. And the next one, identify strategies for involvement. Oh, that's the parent one, particularly. The key there being sensitively and confidently. So the last thing you want to do is draw up barriers and make it awkward for them. And the last one is just obvious, being professional, being accurate, and doing a good job. But bear in mind that it's only, 30%, 35%. It's not a major project, so please don't go nuts. It mustn't kill you because you've got other things to do.
Okay. Can I ask 2 questions, please?
Of course.
The first one is that last table on the rubric where it says demonstrate accurate academic style in which the ideas and arguments are well organized with correct grammar, punctuation, spelling, vocab. So if we are doing an oral presentation,
Of course.
We just ignore that. Or are you expecting us to do some sort of written reflection?
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm just saying, just be professional. Okay. And imagine that you can't turn up to a parent information night not prepared. You can't turn up and, you know, be inappropriate. You've got to be professional, give due credit where credit is due, etc. It's just the professional bit.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. And then the other question I have is the wording is identify a student with a specific intellectual disability who is placed in your classroom. I just want to know how specific that intellectual disability wording is, because I spoke to an occupational therapist just about, because I have no idea what these disabilities are, and I wanted to get some ideas of where I should be researching. And she said to me that ADHD, dyslexia, and autism are not actually intellectual disabilities per quo, but things like Down syndrome, Fragile X syndrome, developmental delay, cerebral palsy, those are considered intellectual disabilities. So must we stay away from the ADHDs, the dyslexia, and the autism, or is it a bit more forgiving in the wording that's been used?
Forgiving, but I would suggest this question is definitely steering you away from physical disability.
Okay.
Because it wants you to focus on intellectual disability.
Yeah.
So the way I see this subject is it's an extension or an application of inclusive ed, inclusive education, which some of you may well have done and some of you may well have not done yet, which is a slight disadvantage. But, and I'm not, it is part of the secondary suite of subjects, isn't it?
I think it is one of the units that I can elect, yes, but I think it's only coming up in my next semester.
Yeah, 523, inclusive education. So I'll say that again. I believe this subject is an application of inclusive education. And you can apply it to your most natural setting, be that in secondary case, your case, Mary, geography. You're perfectly at liberty to apply it there. So you don't have to sort of dig up a whole swag of new curriculum material. You can apply what you've already been gleaning or what you've already used on placement. To me, the goal is to get you thinking through, how do I apply universal design for learning in the way I set up my classroom? What are the considerations I'm seeking to put in there? It says here about how do you understand their learning needs? How do you get to grips with engaging them? You won't necessarily just be able to teach to the middle of the class. What strategies are you going to do? So one of the big things I'll say to you like this, when I was at Cedars in Wollongong, when was it? About 2005, there was a big sweep came through the educational world. Differentiate your curriculum. Differentiate your curriculum. And some teachers who had not had to do that were absolutely petrified. And differentiating the curriculum doesn't mean you've got a silo of work that you're going to give to those who can't pay attention to you in class, or that's extension work you give to them. So that's not differentiation, that's siloing into little compartments. So what are you actually going to do to create an engaging environment that doesn't discriminate between those who have intellectual disability and those who don't? And yes, I think intellectual disability, that's a very interesting phrase. Does that mean necessarily intellectually impaired? Could it mean a genius? I want to give you as much liberty as I can to where you'd like to take this little exercise. How do you define intellectual disability? Yeah. As you were saying when you were talking to the teacher there, it's quite a task.
Okay.
Anyway, it's a podcast, and I think I wouldn't mind mentioning a little word about reflection, but we'll have more Zooms. So the critical reflection, 13th of May. Do you have anything further you want to ask about this case study?
No, I'm all good on the case study. Thanks, Jim.
Okay. Well, let's just drop down to critical reflection for a few minutes. Now, in there, you could be, between now and whenever, just try, have you found an educational support person or a principal that you could talk to?
Yes, I've found an allied health professional.
Cool. So that's the crucial thing. Find somebody, and that second to last sentence, that last sentence in the first paragraph, consider issues of equity and quality of school education in the light of Christians' obligation to support social justice for all. These are, you're wrestling. And as I say in that last line, the whole point of this is to wrestle. So it's not an answer. You haven't got to give an answer. You've just got to demonstrate that you're wrestling with the issues, of which there are, an infinite variety of expressions. But at the end of the day, the social justice for all is the key thing. Does your classroom do that? And ask this person, how have they wrestled with this allied health professional? How have they wrestled? A critical reflection on the changes in the treatment of support. It depends how old they are. I will just give you a taster for an issue. Again, this is when I was a principal one place. I took on a student with disabilities in the junior school, in the primary school. I think she was year 6. But we as a school didn't have the facilities to really look after her. And there was a neighbouring Christian school that did have a special unit that would be ideal for her. So I suggested that the girl go there in one of the rollovers from year 6 to 7, perhaps it was. And the parents didn't want that because she was making friends in the school, in my school. And she'd really made a connection there and she didn't want another change. So much so that I was taken to court for discrimination. Now, my answer was to basically seek the best will for the child, best learning outcome for the child. And it was this neighbouring school, which was literally 3 kilometres away, and it had a specialised unit with funds, and it would have been superb. But the very fact that I suggested that this is where the girl should go got me into trouble. What do you do? And, that was a massive 6 months, more than 6 months trial, in inverted commas, both for me and the school and the board, had been done. Arguably, it was my fault taking the girl in the first place. But then if I didn't take the girl in the first place, I'd have been done for discrimination. And then if the girl goes to a state school, the funding for her in the state school would have been 10 times as much as in the Christian school. But the parents didn't want the state school, they wanted the Christian school. It's a minefield. And, the whole point of this exercise is to reflect on changes, the anti-discrimination laws, the role of government and all that stuff, reflect on it. And it's really, you can take that down any rabbit warren you like.
Yes, I'm not going to comment on that story because that's heartbreaking, but thank you. It does give us an idea of what the reality of teaching is, and that politics can so often surpass the heart.
Well, yes. And
there's a message from Tulsi. Jim, I don't know if you've seen it, from Tulsi saying that she can see both of us, but she's not sure if we can see her. No, Tulsi, we can't see you. We can just see your name. Yeah. I'm not sure if you have to press the button on the bottom left that says start video.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Oh, Tulsi.
Thank
nice
you.
Nice to see you.
Same here. Thank you. How are you?
How much of all that did you hear?
I heard for last 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll have to go back and listen to the whole thing.
Sure, I'll do that. I was trying to connect it, but couldn't find it to like where to do it. It was showing me share screen, but I can't find how to share the screen. Thanks.
But you've got there now.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Well, look, time has gone, folks. I'm going to have to cut this one, so I've got another one in 3 minutes.
Okay. Jim, can I just ask you a quick question then? Going on to the lesson plan sequence, so that's the third assignment. I went through the attached documents where it's got questions and notes, so that's just additional notes that you've given about the assignment. And on there it says, if we are doing this assignment but we'll have finished our practical, or we're not involved in the CTM, then we must speak to our supervisor, who may have genius ideas on how we can go about working this. So is that a conversation for another Zoom?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
The crucial thing is say 4 lesson sequence.
Yes.
And if you've been on placement, why don't you pull out 4 you've prepared earlier and consider modifying them or presenting them in a form that would suit this particular assignment.
Okay.
But then, yeah, we'll have another Zoom. I'm sorry, folks. I'm going to have to go.
Okay.
It's been so good to see you, Tulsi, because it's been so long. We will catch up.
Surely. Surely.
Okay. Bye then. I'm going to stop the
Jim.
recording.